Hey there, Regina Andler here, and it is time for Motivation Monday. This week, we are going to talk about failure. Last week, we talked about achievement. This week, we're talking about the opposite, failure. Here's the thing, they were put back to back for a reason. You can't have achievement without having failure. Think about that one for a minute. Let that sink in. We are brought up in a society where we are told that failure is a bad thing. From a very young age, we're told that if you fail, if you lose a game, if you fail a test, if you fail at anything, we're told that that's bad. And so we associate failure with something that's bad. And here's the thing, failure is not bad at all. Failure is a great thing. Failure is learning. You cannot learn, you cannot achieve, you cannot succeed in life, in business, in anything without failure. Hey, Carolyn, thanks for watching. And think about it for just 1 second. Think about one of your earliest times that you probably don't even remember, learning how to walk, right? So when you were a baby, maybe you crawled, maybe you did the butt scooch thing. Maybe you just kind of like did the worm thing where you just kind of like pulled yourself along on the ground. Eventually, you learned to pull yourself up. How did you learn to pull yourself up? You pulled yourself up and you fell down a bunch of times. Finally, you got it down and you pulled yourself up and you stayed. Your muscles learned, your body learned. In your head, you understood, you learned what worked and what didn't work. And then you took your first step. And what happened? You fell down. And because you were young and you didn't know about giving up or any of that kind of stuff yet, you just kept trying and trying and trying until you got it right. And what did you do? You fell down a lot. Now, sure, your muscles were learning, your muscles were getting stronger and that kind of thing. Just think about that muscle memory thing. Your muscles were also learning how to keep you upright. So in the process of that failure of falling down, you were learning how to walk. And that's the whole thing about failure. We are programmed, it's a limiting belief that failure is a bad thing. I learned a long time ago to embrace my failures. And I learned how to what is known as, and I did not coin this term, I learned how to fail forward. And that's what I do. I fail forward. Every time I fail, I stop and I think for a minute, okay, what didn't work quite right there? Why did I fail? What didn't work right? And what can I learn from that failure so that I can do something different next time? You know, I talk about the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, right? And the definition of real failure is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. That's the definition of failure, because you're not learning. You're not learning from the experience of the fail. So the fail is how you learn and how you make adjustments, how you just do some of those little tweaks, and then you do it again. And then you adjust, and then you do it again. And before you know it, you've succeeded. So this week, in our quotes on failure, I want you to think about, what is it that you do? What is your automatic response when you fail? And yeah, Carolyn, failure for you. You fell down, you allowed it to go forward and find your creative side, right? So in that failure, what have you found? When you fall down, what do you find in that failure? What does it bring you? Every failure has a gift, and that gift is knowledge. It's the knowledge of how something doesn't work. What did Edison say? Thomas Edison said, and I'm not sure if that's 100% quite the quote. It was something to the effect of, I haven't failed 10,000 times. I just found 10,000 ways it doesn't work. And it's all in the mindset, how you view failure. Failure is a good thing. Failure is how you learn. Failure is a part of life. You cannot go through life without failure. It's virtually impossible. Every single person has failed in their life, even if they don't admit it. They've all failed. Just think about that time when you learned to walk. You got up, you took a couple steps, you fell down. You got up, you took a couple steps, you fell down. Before you knew it, you were walking all the way across the room. Then you were walking all the way down the street. Then you were walking wherever you wanted to because you learned. You learned from your failures. Now, think about that one too. Walking is actually a great example. I do know some people who have had catastrophic injuries in their life where they had to relearn how to walk. And I'll tell you, learning how to walk as an adult as opposed to a baby is a completely different thing. Why? Because as an adult, if you need to relearn how to walk because of an accident or something happening, in your mind, you've already convinced yourself that this just isn't going to work. I can't walk, and I'm having trouble here, and it's just the way it is. Now, when you were a baby, you didn't have those thoughts. You didn't have those beliefs. None of that junk was in your head yet. It wasn't created. So as a baby, you just kept getting up and doing it over and over and over again until it worked, right? As an adult, you have all these limiting beliefs in your head and all these ideas that, I don't know, what if I fall down? Will I hurt myself? What happens then? What if I can't get back up again? As a baby, you never thought of that stuff. You just got up and did it again and just kept trying until you had it right. So as an adult, it's very different when you fail because of all of that stuff. So when you learn and embrace the idea of failing forward, then and only then can you truly succeed, because failure is a part of life. I'll repeat that over and over again, because really people just think of failure. When I said failure to start with, when I said fail, what kind of energy does that bring up in you? Does it get you all excited? Or does it bring you down? It kind of comes in and it's like, I failed. It's bad. And you let your energy go down. And the thing is that when you failed, you've learned something. And if you take that for what it is and learn that lesson, that's a completely different energy shift. Instead of being down and feeling bad because I failed, now you're looking at failure with brand new eyes, and you see that there's something good out of every single failure. It teaches you what not to do. It teaches you what to do. It teaches you what you like, what you don't like. If you've ever been in a relationship where something failed, I'm going to admit to you guys, I don't know if I should admit this on this, but I'm going to admit this anyways. I was engaged 3 times before I actually got engaged to my husband and got married. And the first couple, after they kind of didn't work out, I kind of thought of myself as a failure. I was like, I wasn't meant for relationships because apparently I can't make this work. I'm a failure, and I just get engaged and then I never get married. And then the third time happened, and it was actually a repeat of one of the first guys, and I failed again. And then I realized in the failure that it wasn't me, it was the guys that I was going out with. It was the relationships that I had. It wasn't the right guy. It wasn't the right relationship. I just didn't know that, and I wasn't looking at it that way. I just kept saying, what's wrong with me? And the thing was there was nothing wrong with me. I just wasn't learning the lesson out of what was going on. As soon as I learned the lesson, that was when I met the guy that I ended up marrying, that I'm still married to 26. I think we're 27 years later now. So it makes a big difference on how you view the failure. So this week, think about what happens when you fail. Do you view it as something bad? And if you do, like most people do, So there's nothing wrong with that. It's programmed into us. If you do view it that way, stop for a moment and consider, what is the lesson that can be learned from the failure? And then make a educated, constructive choice to do something different next time based on the knowledge that you've learned from that failure. That's what I've got for you this week on failure. I'm looking forward to any comments or ideas that you might have that you want to throw out there. Feel free to throw some comments in underneath this video. And this week we have 4 more quotes that will be coming out on failure, a couple different spins on failure. It's all about failing forward. Failures are part of life. You will fail, and it's okay. When you do, stop and consider the lesson being learned and what you're taking away from the failure to improve your life. So that's what I've got for you today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the quotes for this week. And we will see you next week on Motivation Monday. Bye for now.